The New York State DEC and the federal EPA are still testing properties in Erie County and Niagara County. An aerial survey found radioactive hotspots throughout the region. But today's focus was on a property on Witmer Road that has a long history of different types of contamination. 2 on your side's Nate Benson is following this story for us tonight. So Nate, what did you find out exactly today?
Yeah, good evening, Courtney. A former drive-in on Witmer Road has been on the radar of the DEC for decades for chemical and industrial contamination. But buried in the minutes of an obscure agency meeting 6 years ago, it was revealed that the site actually had radioactive contamination. It might not look like it, but there was once a drive-in theater located at 4287 Witmer Road, and the final reel spun in 1986. It was then sold to a developer who put this one-story building up. However, it has seemingly sat vacant since the early 2000s. You could drive by it and not even realize it's there. But the site is significantly contaminated. Prior to the drive-in, the site was a farm of some sorts.
Before that, it was a farm. And apparently when it was a farm, it served as the receptacle for all kinds of waste that was being dumped there.
The DEC has known about this and wrote a substantial report about it in 2008 and outlined significant contamination. Everything from volatile organic compounds like xylene, ethylbenzene, toluene, but no jolene. Other semi-volatile organic compounds, even heavy metals like arsenic, copper, and chromium. But no radioactive contamination, at least none listed in the 2008 report. And since 2008, there's been no evidence of any DEC-led cleanup at that site. Fast forward to February 2020, in a meeting of the Niagara Orleans Regional Land Improvement Corporation, also known as NORLIC. Basically, they're the land bank for Niagara and Orleans counties, and through tax delinquency are the current property owners. In February 2020, NORLIC reviewed proposals for an environmental site assessment, which included radiological testing. In June 2020, a fieldwork update revealed, quote, high radioactive levels. In August 2020, another update that said, quote, the property is contaminated with higher than allowed levels and that some radioactive slag exists on the site and would require more than $1 million of remediation. 2 years later, in August 2022, nothing has changed with the site and still, quote, significant contamination exists at the site. Why does any of this matter? The contamination of the former drive-in is situated about 1,500 feet from Lexi Hawk's house and other houses that have had confirmed radioactive hotspots by the DEC.
I am so angry, I don't even know how to put it into words.
According to witnesses in the neighborhood, the DEC had crews at the former drive-in location on Wednesday. When 2 on your side arrived in the afternoon, the site looked untouched. One of the points of contention for Lexi and many of the residents that have had confirmed radioactive hotspots is a growing pattern of several agencies knew there was contamination, but nothing was ever done about it.
I just can't imagine somebody would allow that to happen to people, to residents. It doesn't make any sense.
Environmental attorney Christine Civiletto has been assisting some of the people that live in the neighborhood near Gill Creek between Witmer Road and Lockport Road, and everyone wants better answers from the DEC.
They need to get to Lexi's property and to all of these residents and start figuring out, did it migrate off-site? We've got Gill Creek, which has been tremendously impacted by many sources. So we got to figure out what's happening in Gill Creek. But also we had flooding in this neighborhood in the past week, and it was significant flooding. So are these contaminants on the move? They need to be there figuring that out.
For Lexi Hawk and several of her neighbors who are also concerned, they have a more direct request.
We want them to fence off the property
and have it be considered for a federal Superfund status. During a previous visit by the DEC, field crews taped off her property and its access to Gill Creek, which again runs directly past the former drive-in site.
Extremely frustrating, especially after you have children and you let your children play back there because they are more susceptible than adults are.
So what is the DEC saying about this specific property tonight? Nothing. I reached out multiple times and I was told I'd be getting some information, but I got nothing. So I guess we'll have to keep at this story. On your side, Nate Benson, Channel 2 News.